thing to do is to be an optimist. If you only read the surface of the news, it's easy to think, well, the journalism is not a promising career anymore because you read about newspapers or magazines trimming their staff, in some cases shutting down, and so you might say, well, look, that's not a very promising field for me to be in. But at the same time, we have some very high-profile and sort of dramatic cases of retrenchment. I think there's many other examples, equally dramatic in the opposite direction, of new publications like Politico, like Huffington Post, like BuzzFeed, like Yahoo News, and all manner of others that are growing. They're experimenting. They're involved in the conversation about how journalism will find its audience in the future. So journalism, I think, is a great job for people to learn a lot, travel a lot, have impact out in the world. That was true when I first came into the business. I think it's still very true now.
The best advice is that a career in journalism is a wonderful career. It's a front row seat to history. There's no other job where every day you can wake up and say, hey, this really interests me, or wow, this is a great story in the newspaper. I'm just going to call up people and ask them about it. Or I'm going to go get a job covering the United States Congress where I'll get to walk the halls and question U.S. senators and U.S. members of Congress and their staffers, all of them who have access to national security information, intelligence information, and some of the most important decisions facing this country. I think journalism is a great career. I think one of the most important things to learn if you want to be a journalist is to be fair, number one, be objective, be curious, and also be persistent. Not everybody will return your phone call when you're trying to get a story, and so call lots of times and be respectful. But remember, at the end of the day, you're trying to tell somebody something new about a particular story. You're trying to shine a light on a news story and actually inform people.
I don't know. I don't point to any one moment that is, I think it was defined my career. I did make a decision that was a very consequential decision for me, one that wasn't an easy decision at the time, to leave the place that had been my professional home for 2 decades, the Washington Post, to try to go to something that didn't exist yet, to start something new. And that new venture that I started, but with a group of others, on the business side and on the editorial side, that ended up being a great move for all of us who did it, because the publication went from nothing to something that I think matters and has impact in politics, and there's nothing so gratifying as starting from scratch and building something on your own. So I think that was probably the decision that that was hard at the time, that I was, in retrospect, most happy that I took.
Probably one of my most memorable experiences was traveling after 9/11, the 9/11 attacks, with Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld. I was with him in his first trip to Afghanistan, and it was just a month after the 9/11 attacks, and we landed in a C-17 in Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. When the C-17, we had a steep descent in order to avoid being hit by shoulder-fired missiles. When we finally were on the ground, the back of the plane, of the C-17 cargo plane, opened up. We walked out, and the whole runway was lined by Northern Alliance soldiers in old Russian uniforms and Kalashnikov rifles. And there was nobody there to greet us. We were just in the middle of the Hindu Kush Mountains, and someone said, "Don't step off the runway, there are landmines everywhere." So it was like being transported into another world.